Hello everybody, my name is Hunter, and you are watching my first dev blog for my upcoming game, RoboMonk, The Path to Peace. So just a little bit about the game, and kind of the direction I'm hoping to go. You play a little robot, see here, jumping around. It is going to be a precision platformer, so it's going to have little puzzles. You're going to have to solve them in order to move forward. But you play RoboNuke, a robot who believes very, very deeply in peace, but is thrust into the middle of a huge robot uprising. So, in the midst of all that, he wants to bring peace, while without compromising on his pacifist nature. What'll kind of make the game fun and the interesting hook is what I'm calling an absorption ability. So RoboMonk will have a shield that when an enemy projectile or falling object hits into, if he has the shield on, then he'll absorb the momentum from that object. That object will fall away, not damage him, and then he'll get a dash, and so he'll use that momentum. And so right now I have a cheeky little animation for that. Shoots at his legs, but in the future I'm gonna have to add some cool particle effects or something. So a little bit about myself. My name is Hunter. I'm new to game development, but I'm not new to programming. I started out doing research in AI, worked for the Utah Learning Laboratory for Manipulation Autonomy. And during this time, I worked on lots of different AI projects, specifically for making quality of life better for people with disabilities, as well as a huge emphasis in computer vision. But super new to game development, and so I'm making my first game, RoboMonk, The Path to Peace, as an effort to kind of learn the ropes of it. So as I go throughout this journey, I'm going to be learning and failing at things, and I'll try to explain when I fell in the traps and kind of what I did to get out of them. If there's sufficient interest in the future, I could do little tutorials and stuff. But for right now, I'm just going to stick to this dev blog with the goal to put out a post every 2 weeks. So with that in mind, let me show you the background of the game. So I'm using the Godot Engine. And so our starting place for this dev blog moving forward is I have a main node, which launches the game. Boom. We have a little menu screen that we can quit or start the game, and then we can start the game. And so to show you, I've created a prototype level. We'll go into the enemy here in a minute, but as you see, it's a very simple level, just enough for me to be able to jump and bounce around and make sure I have all the mechanics working that I want on the player. We have the player here, which I used a character rig. I'll show you the bones. So I used what's called cutout animation. I thought this would be fairly simple starting out. As you can see, it has like a little skeleton. And so I can use that skeleton to make various animations, like the absorbing, dashing, idling, etc. And so, in order to facilitate some kind of neat stuff I did, not my idea, stuff I got from other YouTubers, but using these ground rays instead of the built-in Godot function for determining if I'm touching the ground. Right, so when these arrows are colliding with something, I'm touching the ground. This lets me make it so the player gets coyote time, or a little bit of a grace period after he leaves a ledge that he can still jump. And then similarly for the wall jumping ability, I have ones here on the wall, on the sides. And so when he runs into a wall, this tells me, hey, this is the side it's touching, so I know to face myself away from that, and I know which direction that the jump is going to go. In order to make this work, as kind of the heart of everything is a state machine. So I have this basic state machine class that is going to be a part of almost all the other objects that actually move and do stuff. And then built on top of that in the script, go to player state machine. This is where the meat and potatoes of it. So it has various different states which correspond to different animations, and then it checks for different conditions within those states to move move between them, right? And you can only move to a certain state when you're in a state, right? So just basic stuff. Next, I'll show you the enemy. Not his coat, though. So I don't have cool art yet for the enemy. I just have this little red box, and it has this cone that it's looking and searching for. So the idea is that different enemies will have, different field of views and have different reactions when they see the player. But as you can see in the game right now, this one just kind of follows you. So he sees you, and you see he runs towards you. Leave me alone. So the idea with this absorbing ability is down the line when enemies start shooting bullets, we could have various puzzles where we have to reposition the enemies by tricking them into following you, and then, absorb some bullets they shoot at you and use that to redirect yourself. And we could also have, falling objects, and, getting a little ahead of myself, but you can see kind of the unique possibilities that creates. So again, at the heart is a state machine that allows the player allows the enemy based on how close the player gets to these various little rays I'm shooting out, that it can change its behavior. So there's a warning zone, that's what you saw turning yellow, and then there's a red zone. I'm not sure how many use those yet, but they're there. Last but not least, created a little start menu with my great name, RoboMonk, the Path to Peace. And so, again, it's just a button, just a basic setup here. Margin container with, different canvas objects inside of it to organize it. In the future, I want to have save states and stuff like that. But again, this is just kind of the basic layout. So the biggest challenge I faced up to this point has been art. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of the progression over time. And then as we do these videos in the future, you'll just see them progress on a video by video basis. But I'll get you caught up to where I am now. So you can see here, the big robot is the current cutout that we have. And so we use this. But I've gone through several different iterations. In the early versions of the game, my initial conceptions of the game, you're going to be some kind of samurai robot thing. I got rid of that idea, though. I think this absorbing, peaceful monk is kind of fun. So you can see that's why he has a laser and a gun, and then I tried out a couple different things. I was worried about knees, though. How am I going to create? And so that's when I moved to this cutout. In the future, maybe I'm going to go for a more complicated animation system, but for right now, this is a good starting place. So I'm going to show you, this is clearly not in the game right now. This is like a spaceship's hull. This is my first attempt at pixel art. Obviously, it's not super great, but it was a good start. Made some stars for the background. But this is when I kind of realized, hey, I'm not an artist, and what I want to do is find some art to get started, and maybe down the line I'll learn and get better and be happy with it, or maybe I'll just find. So I went out to freegameart.com, and I found Cert, who is an individual on there, and he has all this free art that anybody can use as long as they credit him. And so I pulled, and for the level, you see I pulled this, but this was not sufficient for Godot to be able to use the auto tile feature, which I think for quickly and rapidly making levels, trying them out, seeing what works, what doesn't, I think being able to use the auto tile system is essential. And so I had to expand that, and that's what this sheet here is. So I took his basic stuff, which was over here, cut it up, and then went through and made all the unique parts that Godot required in order to have the auto tiling work. So that is RoboMonk, the Path of Peace. That's my game. Very excited to get to work on this. My job that I've had for the last little while has not really had a creative outlet, so getting to create games and getting to create code again is super exciting, and I'm super excited to learn about game dev and marketing and all that stuff, and to kind of share that journey with you guys. So if you're interested in learning more and seeing how this progresses, please like and subscribe below, and have a great weekend.